Hey everybody, it's Alex from Tone Heaven Audio here, and I just wrapped up this very cool 24 by 12.5 creation flatboard build. This is actually my personal pedal board, and I just kind of wanted to walk through it and tell you about the build and everything that's on it. So to start, all the audio cabling is Evidence Audio. We're using a black monorail cable and the SIS plugs. Not only are these the best solderless system that I've used, but they're the best cables that I've used in general. They're super easy to make, sound amazing, are extremely reliable. They're just impossible to beat in my opinion. So you should definitely check those out if you haven't seen them before. And it's what I recommend using on any build that I do. Next comes power. We're powering everything with a single Strymon Zuma. In my opinion, Strymon makes probably the best power supplies you can get. They're super reliable, tons and tons of power on that thing. It's also very light, so it doesn't weigh your pedal board down very much. But yeah, everything is being powered by that Zuma, and I make all custom power cables so that each pedal gets a custom length to be able to run the cables the way that I want. And if you notice, I have a lot more pedals on the board than just what would fit in the 9 outputs on the Zuma. So I've made a couple, basically 2 pedal daisy chains to power 2 pedals off of 1 output on the Zuma. So the Milkman and the Lightspeed are chained together in 1 output. The kilt and the compressor are together, and then the underfacer and the volume pedal are together. With the Zuma, you don't have any problems with this because it's 500 mA per output. And if you notice, I'm not chaining like the Strymon pedals or anything digital together. That can introduce some noise, but with the overdrives being very low MA and they're not digital or anything, it doesn't introduce any noise, and there's no issues putting those together. So that's how I've managed to kind of only use 1 power supply with a bunch more pedals. Alright, now let's talk about the signal chain. So we start here with the Goodwood Audio underfacer. I've used their interfacer in the past, which is the same idea, but the underfacer is meant to mount underneath like an angled pedal board. What I like about it is it's a little bit bigger enclosure, so it allows me to mount some stuff on the top of it and save some space. So basically what it does is I plug in and come out of it, and it's got some really great buffers in there, so it keeps I run a lot of cabling, so it keeps my signal really clean. And it's also, you can get this remote switch with it, and this controls muting and stereo summing. So when the LED is on, my signal is muted. If I hold this foot switch down, I don't think you can see it, but the LED on the underfacer turned blue, which means now I'm in mono, so it'll send a dual mono signal, or if you unplug one, you're just running to 1 amp in mono. But if you hold it down again, the light turns red, which will send a stereo signal to 2 amps. So I don't always run stereos. This is a really handy thing to have, that I don't have to rewire my pedal board if I'm only using 1 amp or vice versa. So can't live without it. Okay, so after the underfacer, we hit the max and compressor. It starts my dry effects. And this is a brand new pedal to me. It got recommended to me by Nate Duggar, who plays guitar for Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors. It's his favorite compressor. So I thought I'd give it a shot, and I'm really surprised by it. It sounds awesome. It doesn't really squash your tone a lot, which I really like. It's super low noise, and it's overall just a really great compressor if you want to thicken up your tone a little bit and add a little bit of sustain. So this one's hard to beat. I'm really enjoying this one. Next, we hit the JHS Kilt. It's the Stu G pedal. I used to run my overdrives lightest to heaviest, but I've swapped them for this board, so I do heaviest to lightest now. And the Kilt is probably the most versatile overdrive I've played. You get 1 channel here, which is your overdrive, and depending on how you set these dip switches up here, you can go from boost to overdrive to distortion to fuzz. So many sounds you can get with this thing. And then you do also have a boost that can go before or after the overdrive circuit. So like I said, just a super versatile pedal, and this is kind of my main overdrive sound. Okay, after the Kilt comes the Greer Lightspeed. This is a pedal I pretty much never turn off. I keep the drive pretty low, and I run my amps pretty clean, so this pedal just kind of adds a little character, gets the amps to break up a little bit, and it's super dynamic. So if I'm picking hard, then I'm getting that kind of breakup sound. but if I back off or play with my fingers, my tone sounds pretty clean. So super dynamic, and like I said, never turn this one off. Next comes 1982 Boss CE2 for some chorus. 2 knobs, not a whole lot to say about it, but it's pretty much what every chorus pedal is based after, and it sounds amazing. After this guy, we hit the JHS Milkman. I use this for slap and a boost as well. So I only have 2 overdrives, but I have 2 boosts, and they're in different spots, so I can get a couple different sounds out of it. And the slap sounds awesome for, you know, that country kind of twang, or just to kind of fill up some space if I'm playing rhythm stuff. So that's another really cool pedal. So out of the Milkman, we come into the Dunlop volume pedal. This has been modded by Tone for, it's got a polytune built inside, so kind of a 2-for-1 here. Don't have to use space on my pedal board for a tuner. Really clever pedal design here. I'm really loving this thing. After the Dunlop volume pedal, we hit the Boss DD5 digital delay. This is what I use for dotted eighth most of the time. It, of course, does the Edge U2 sound really well, and since the repeats are a good bit brighter and more present in the El Capistan, using this for dotted eighth works really well. I'll also set it for a reverse delay, which this pedal is kind of known for having an awesome reverse sound. So if I'm needing to fill some space or do something ambient, it's a really cool one to use. So out of the DD5, we hit the El Capistan from Strymon. This is probably my favorite delay pedal I've ever used. It sounds amazing. It's a good bit darker than the DD5, which I like, and there's just something about the characteristics of a tape delay that I just love. And so I try to use this pedal as much as possible. Depending on the set, if I don't need a quarter note, then I'll set this on dotted eighth and pretty much just use this the whole time. But if I need a quarter note in the set, this will be my quarter note, and I'll use this for dotted eighth. And if you notice, this pedal has been modded to take tap tempo. So I have this Disaster Aerial micro clock up here, and I'll kind of just tap in the tempo or save presets on there, depending on the set. And I can sync these two up. And if this is on quarter note and this is on dotted eighth, you can get some really cool like rhythmic sounds out of it. So these two work together really well. Out of the El Capistan, I send a stereo signal with the TRS-Y cable that I made into the Strymon Flint. This is a reverb and tremolo. Sounds incredible. This is another pedal I can't live without. I use the reverb most of the time. It pretty much always stays on as like a light plate reverb. And then obviously use the tremolo when I want to get a little swampy or fill some space. This and the Milkman work really well together. Out of the Flint, we go stereo into the Source Audio Ventris. I use this mostly for some like washier reverbs. I use the E-dome setting most of the time. It's kind of like the Bloom setting on a Big Sky, if you're familiar with that. But I've saved some presets on here. I use this Analog Endeavors 2-button foot switch to go through my different presets. And I pretty much only use between 1 and 3 sounds. Usually 2, I'll have like a washy reverb, and 1 I use for swells. And yeah, so this is another super great small footprint pedal that does so much. I mean, there's all kinds of different reverbs on there, so I highly recommend this pedal. I go stereo out of this, back into the underfacer, and then out to the amps. So it's pretty simple. All right, so that's a quick look at this board. And like I said, everything sits on a Creation Music Company 24 by 12.5 inch flat board. I can't recommend John's pedal boards enough. He makes amazing stuff. And if you're interested in having me build a board like this for you, please reach out. You can find me on Instagram at ToneHeavenAudio, or send me an email at toneheavenaudio@gmail.com. But I'm going to plug this thing up and let you hear some sounds out of it. Nothing will be mic'd. It'll just be cell phone audio real quick, and I hope you enjoy. Also, I'm going to be playing through a Fender Deluxe Reverb and using my Novo Ceres TCS and my Revelator Retrosonic.